Updated December 1, 2017 154,944. As the Ashes phony war rapidly escalated with strategic revelations of late-night cranial engagements and the dramatic deployment of England's most destructive weapon close to Australian territorial waters, it seemed we might need to replace the third umpire with a UN peacekeeper before the end of the series. Australia had mischievously revealed Johnny Bairstow's four-week-old Liverpool peck in order to achieve a psychological advantage. England was threatening to launch Ben Stokes, despite the legal clouds hovering above, in reprisal. Or so the conspiracy theories had it. This is the stuff of Ashes legend, the huff and puff that has fanned the flame of this confrontation for 140 years, while perpetuating hoary caricatures and dated stereotypes along the way. Chippy colonials bending the rules of fair play to get under the skin of their born-to-rule tormentors, English gentry responding indignantly from their Chesterfield armchairs atop the moral high ground. Cue footage of Douglas Jardine plotting archly to thwart Don Bradman, Lillian Thompson hurling bounces at the 42-year-old Colin Cowdrey, scholarly patrician Mike Brearley Suling Ian Botham onto the Australians at Headingley, and Mike Gatting's bewildered gaze after facing that ball to the gleeful yelps of Australia's new masters of mental disintegration. The underlying theme of the Ashes, one played out endlessly in the media, is that this is not merely cricket but a form of class warfare. Yet a quick glance in the mirror reveals the inconvenient truth about the combatants, fans and, most particularly, the media engaged in contemporary Ashes series. These teams, and these nations, now have far more in common than the authors of the dated Ashes narrative would like us to believe. England, or its media, still convinces itself it is competing against a colonial outpost whose self-esteem relies solely on sporting accomplishment to compensate for a lack of history and culture. Yet to be in the crowd at the London Olympics, or at any recent Ashes test in England, was to experience the worst indulgences of Australia's Oi 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 brigade amplified. England once had a sense of self-deprecation as the nation that invents games that others perfect. Now, as home of multiple Olympic gold medalists, Tour de France winners and Formula One champions, it celebrates as raucously as, yes, even the chest-beating Aussies. That humble in-victory doctrine discarded as hastily as an EEC passport. Media continues to perpetuate Ashes myths. Australia, or its media, still casts England as a cadre of old Etonians and doddering MCC stalwarts. Never mind the current team is, like Australia's, a reflection of the English game's broader social constituency and a product of immigration of the historic and extremely recent kind. The result of this social and sporting evolution, an English wicketkeeper is every bit as likely to headbutt an Australian opener in a bar as an Australian opener is to punch an England captain. Which doesn't stop those invested in the more stereotypical view of the Ashes finding inventive, and, in some cases, very blatant ways, to perpetuate myths. The London Daily Telegraph's Paul Hayward claimed the supposed leaking of Bairstow's headbutt proved Australia revived an old urge to fight dirty. He then used this supposed truism to execute a wonderfully mischievous double bluff. Purporting to be merely thinking out loud for the ECB, Hayward prosecuted a case in which England bringing Stokes back into the fold would be justified by Australia's revelation of the Bairstow headbutt. You see, these dirty Australians have forced England to fight dirtier. Never mind the ECB's duty to check its own apparently spinning moral compass. The myth of dirty Australians goading indignant English retaliators merely demonstrates sections of the England media live in an alternate universe. One where James Anderson's sharp tongue is permanently tied, Stuart Broad doesn't have to be removed with a forklift when caught at first slip, and Bill Woodfull was just bloody squeamish. Which makes them roughly equivalent to those Australians who still glory in the crass excesses of the mental disintegration era. The urges and enablers who justify Nathan Lyon's regrettable end career's jibe on the grounds he is turning the ball square, and who genuinely believe Mitchell Starc would be more penetrating if he employed as many C words as Yorkers. The oft-forgotten irony is that the Australian tabloids which perpetuate stereotypes and wage the phony wars here are merely parroting down-market English papers where similar taunts are levelled at the Australians when they tour. And so it goes. The more both sides bluster, the more they seem the same. Which is not to say the Ashes does not bring out genuine combative instincts. The grind and graft and sudden outbreak of outright hostility during an enthralling Brisbane test were both a consequence and a validation of the competition's enduring stature. The Ashes is enriched by a history that contains trace elements of genuine post-colonial identity politics. but the contemporary version pits opponents who rub shoulders at IPL franchises' boards with commercial rather than social agendas and crowds who are equally raucous, jubilant and, occasionally, bellicose. The symbolic moment in Brisbane was Stark comforting Joe Root after striking him, not the bounces he bowled either side of this consolation. This does not stop both sides trying to prize moral superiority from Bairstow's shaming a Stokes' hasty rehabilitation. But, again, this merely demonstrates how similar the combatants are and, perhaps, have always been. For analysis of the second Ashes Test and the Rugby League World Cup final, join Gerard Whateley and the Offsiders panel Walid Ali, Ali Mitchell and Gideon Haigh live from Adelaide this Sunday at 1000 AEDT on ABC TV. Topics: Cricket, Sport, Ashes, Adelaide 5000, England, United Kingdom. First posted December 1, 2017. 063038.